The silver ship moved through the dark space like a giant metal bird. Captain Vexstar stood on the bridge and looked at the screens around him. His blue skin glowed softly in the dim light. His 4 arms moved quickly across the control panels. "We are getting close to the planet," said Quindle, his science officer. She had green skin and large black eyes that never seemed to blink. The human world should be just ahead. Vexstar nodded his large head. The Zephyrians had traveled for many months to reach this place. They wanted to study the dead human colony. All the records said the humans had tried to build a home here 300 years ago, but they had failed. The planet was too hard to live on, too cold, too dangerous, too far from help. "Show me the planet," Vexstar said. The main screen lit. Up, a brown and blue world appeared before them. It looked like a lonely ball floating in the black space. White clouds moved slowly across its surface. "This is Kepler 442c," Quindle said. The humans called it New Hope when they first came here, but hope was not enough to save them. Vexstar had read all the old files. Earth had sent 10,000 people to this world. They brought machines and seeds and dreams of a new life, but the planet fought them. Terrible storms came every few months. The ground was hard to grow food in. The weather was always changing. Most aliens would have left after the first year. "Run a deep scan," Vexstar ordered. "Let us see what is left of their buildings." The ship's powerful sensors reached out to touch the planet below. Vexstar expected to find broken metal and empty ruins. Maybe some old graves where the humans had buried their dead before the last ship took the survivors back to Earth. But what appeared on the screen made him step back in shock. "That cannot be right," he said. "Check the sensors again." Quindle's fingers danced over her controls. Her large eyes grew even bigger. "The readings are correct, Captain. I am detecting massive energy sources, cities, farms, ships moving in orbit around the planet." "That is not possible," Vexstar said. But he could see it with his own eyes. The screen showed lights covering 3 different continents. Bright spots that meant cities full of life. Green areas that meant growing plants. And yes, there were ships up here in space with them. "Captain," called the communications officer, "we are getting a signal from the planet." "Put it on screen." Vexstar said. The image of a human appeared before them. He had short brown hair and kind eyes. His skin was tanned from working under the sun. He wore simple clothes and had a friendly smile. "Welcome to New Hope," the human said. "I am Commander Jake Morrison. We saw your ship on our sensors. You are Zephyrian, right? We have heard stories about your people from the old Earth records." Vexstar could not speak for a moment. A living human on a world that should have been empty for hundreds of years. "I am Captain Vexstar of the ship Stellar Wind," he finally said. "We came here to study the ruins of your colony, but you are alive." Jake laughed. It was a warm sound that made Vexstar feel strange. No alien had ever laughed when meeting Zephyrians for the first time. Most were afraid or tried to show how strong they were. "Very much alive," Jake said. "We would be happy to welcome you to our world. It has been a long time since we had visitors from the stars. Would you like to land? We can show you what we have built here." Quindle whispered to her captain. "This changes everything we know about human survival rates. How did they live through 3 centuries on this world?" Vexstar was thinking the same thing. Every study said that small colonies failed without help from their home world. Earth had stopped sending ships here after 50 years. They thought everyone was dead. "We would be honored to visit your world," Vexstar told Jake. "But I must ask, how many of you are there?" "About 50,000 now," Jake said with pride. "We have grown quite a bit since the early days. My great-great-grandmother was one of the first settlers. She used to tell stories about how hard it was back then. 50,000. Vextar felt his mind spinning. The original colony had only 10,000 people. That meant they had not just survived, they had grown and built new lives. There is someone you should meet, Jake continued. Dr. Lisa Grant is our head researcher. She knows more about our history than anyone. She would love to talk with aliens who study dead colonies. He smiled again. Though I guess we are not so dead after all. As their ship moved toward the planet, Vextar looked at the growing lights below. Each light meant humans living and working and building families. On a world that should have killed them all, prepare a landing team, he told his crew. We are about to learn something new about humans. But he had no idea just how much this discovery would change everything he thought he knew about survival, hope, and the strange strength that lived inside human hearts. The landing ship touched down on a flat area near the human city. Vextar and his team stepped out into the bright sunlight. The air was clean and smelled of growing plants. All around them, humans were working in fields and walking between buildings. Jake. Morrison waited for them with a smile. Next to him stood an older human with white hair and wrinkled skin. The old man leaned on a walking stick made from wood. This is Pete Williams, Jake said. He is 93 years old. His grandfather was one of the first people to land on this world. Pete looked at the aliens with bright eyes. Welcome to New Hope, he said. I bet you thought we were all dead. We did, Vextar admitted. All our records said this colony failed after a few years. Pete laughed. Oh, we almost did fail. The first 10 years were terrible. People died every day. But we were too stubborn to give up. Quindle stepped forward. May we ask what happened? How did you survive when the planet was so dangerous? Come, Pete said. Let me show you. They walked through the city. The buildings were made from local stone and metal from the planet's mines. Gardens grew on every roof. Children played in the streets while their parents worked nearby. Everything looked peaceful and happy. The first winter almost killed us. Pete began. The storms were worse than anything Earth had told us about. Our crops died. Our machines broke down. Half our medical supplies were lost when the storage building collapsed. They stopped at a large wall covered with names, carved into the stone. Thousands and thousands of names. These are the people who died in the first 50 years, Pete said quietly. Each name is someone who gave their life so the rest of us could live. Vextar read some of the names. Under each one were words like, died fixing the water system, or lost in storm while getting medicine, or gave food to children, died of hunger. They did not die by accident, Pete continued. They chose to risk everything to help others. That is what humans do. Quindle looked confused. But why? In most species, individuals save themselves first. Not humans, Jake said. When things get bad, we work together. We share what we have. We take care of each other. Pete nodded. Take Tony Rodriguez. He was our best engineer. When the farming machines broke down, he could have fixed them and kept the best food for himself. Instead, he worked day and night to build new tools for everyone. He died from working too hard, but his inventions saved thousands of lives. They walked to a small museum. Inside were pictures and objects from the early days. Pete pointed to a photo of a woman in a dirty white coat. That is Dr. Amy Foster. When our medicine ran out, she started testing local plants. She tried everything. On herself first. Some of the plants almost killed her. But she found cures for diseases that were killing our children. Vextar stared at the picture. She risked her own life to save others? That is what doctors do, Pete said simply. At Least, that is what human doctors do. Another picture showed a man in a military uniform talking to a group of people. Captain Steve Johnson, Pete said. He was supposed to be our leader, but he said no one person should make all the decisions. He taught us to vote on important things, to talk about problems until we found answers everyone could accept. Quindle made notes on her small computer. This is very unusual. Most colonies need strong leaders to survive. We tried that at first, Jake said. It did not work well. People fought over who should be in charge. Steve changed everything. He said we were all equal partners in building this world. They left a museum and walked to the cemetery. It was a peaceful place with trees and flowers. But what caught Vexstar's attention were the words carved above the entrance. They died moving forward. What does that mean? He asked. Pete was quiet for a moment. It means they did not die giving up. They died trying to make things better. When Maria Santos went into the storm to save trapped miners, she knew she might not come back. When Dr. Foster tested those plants, she knew they might kill her. When Tony worked himself to death, he knew the cost. But they did it anyway, Vexstar said. They did it anyway, Pete agreed, because they believed in tomorrow. They believed their children would have better lives. They believed this world could become a real home. As they walked back toward the landing ship, Vexstar saw more signs of human determination. Solar panels covered every roof. Wind machines turned slowly on the hills. Gardens grew in every open space. The planet is still dangerous, Jake said. Storms still come. Earthquakes happen. Diseases spread. But we are ready now. We have learned to work with this world instead of fighting it. How? Quindle asked. We watch the weather patterns and know when storms are coming. We build our houses to bend with earthquakes instead of breaking. We have medicines for local diseases. Most important, we have each other. Pete stopped and looked at the aliens. You want to know our secret? It is not about being strong or smart. It is about not giving up. When things get bad, we do not run away. We do not wait for someone else to save us. We roll up our sleeves and get to work. Even when people die? Vexstar asked. Especially when people die, Pete said. Every person who died made us stronger. Every failure taught us something new. Every loss reminded us why we were fighting. As the sun set over New Hope, Vexstar understood something important. These humans had not just survived on a hostile world. They had learned to call it home. Tomorrow, Jake said, we will show you what we have built. You will see why we call this place New Hope. But Vexstar already knew. Hope was not just the name of their world. It was the thing that kept them alive when everything else failed. The next morning, Jake took the aliens to see what the humans had built. The first stop was the power plant at the edge of the city. A tall woman with dark hair and strong hands waited for them there. This is Dr. Carlos Rivera, Jake said. He runs our energy systems. Carlos smiled and shook hands with each alien. His grip was firm but gentle. Welcome to our fusion plant, he said. I bet you are wondering how we built this. Vexstar was indeed wondering. The building in front of them was huge and hummed with power, but it was made from materials that looked like ordinary rock and metal. We use local minerals, Carlos explained as they walked inside. The Zephyrians probably think these rocks are worthless, but we found a way to make them work. The inside of the plant was clean and bright. Humans worked at control panels while machines hummed softly. Everything looked peaceful and safe. How much power does this make? Quindle asked. Enough for all 50,000 people, plus our factories and farms, Carlos said with pride. And we have 3 backup plants in case this one breaks down. Vexstar could not believe it. His own people needed special rare metals to build fusion reactors. These humans had done it with common rocks. The secret is not the materials, Carlos said, reading his expression. The secret is understanding what you have, instead of wanting what you do not have. Their next stop was the vertical farms. These were tall buildings where food grew on many levels inside. A young woman named Dr. Sarah Kim showed them around. We grow 3 times more food than normal farms, she said. Every plant gets exactly the right amount of light and water. No weather problems, no bugs, no waste. The aliens walked through rows of green plants growing under bright lights. Everything was perfectly organized. Water moved through clear tubes. The air smelled fresh and clean. This is very advanced, Quindle said. How did you learn to do this? Sarah laughed. We had to. The planet's weather made outdoor farming too risky. So we brought farming inside. It took many years to get it right. Many people went hungry while we learned. But you kept trying, Vextar said. What else could we do? Sarah asked. Give up? And starve? That is not the human way. At the city center, they met with Mayor Julie Thompson. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a confident voice. She sat at a round table with several other humans. We are having our weekly town meeting, Julie said. Would you like to watch how we make decisions? The aliens sat in the back and listened. The humans talked about many things. Should they build a new school? How much money should they spend on the space program? What should they do about the mining dispute? Vextar was amazed by what he saw. Every person could speak. They listened to each other with respect. When they disagreed, they talked calmly until they found a solution everyone could accept. How do you keep order? Quindle whispered. Where is your army, your police? We have a few security people, Julie whispered back. But mostly we do not need them. When people help choose the rules, they want to follow them. After the meeting, Julie explained more about their government. Every adult gets to vote on important decisions, she said. We elect leaders for short terms, then they go back to regular jobs. No one person has too much power for too long. What if people vote for bad things? Vextar asked. Sometimes they do, Julie admitted. We have made mistakes, but we learn from them and do better next time. That is how democracy works. Most isolated colonies become dictatorships, Quendel said. Strong leaders who make all the choices. We tried that once, Julie said. It did not work. People fought over who should be the leader. We almost had a civil war. That is when we decided everyone should have a voice. Their last stop was the school. A teacher named Ben Clark showed them around the classrooms. Children of all ages were learning together. Some studied math and science. Others learned to farm and build things. All of them seemed happy and curious. What do you teach them? Vextar asked. Everything they need to know to live good lives, Ben said. But most important, we teach them to work together and never give up hope. In one classroom, children were building small machines. In another, they were growing plants. In a third, they were learning about the stars and other worlds. We teach them that problems are just puzzles waiting to be solved, Ben said. That helping others makes you stronger. That there is always a way forward if you keep looking. A little girl with bright eyes came up to the aliens. Are you from the stars? She asked. Yes, Extar said gently. We are from very far away. Will you tell us about your world? She asked. We want to visit other planets someday. Ben smiled. See? That is the human spirit. Always curious, always wanting to learn more. As they walked back to their ship, Vextar thought about everything he had seen. The humans had not just survived on this difficult world. They had built something better than what most advanced civilizations achieved. How do you do it? He asked Jake. How do you keep people working together? How do you keep them hoping when things are hard? Jake thought for a moment. We remember that we are all in this together, he said. When someone hurts, we all hurt. When someone succeeds, we all succeed. We are not just individuals trying to survive. We are a family building a home. And if someone disagrees, if they want to do things differently, then we listen to them, Jake said. Maybe they have a better idea. Maybe they see something we missed. Different opinions make us stronger, not weaker. That night, as Vextar looked up at the stars from his ship, he realized something important. The humans had not just survived against impossible odds. They had created a society that worked better than anything in the known galaxy. They had proven that cooperation was stronger than competition. That hope was more powerful than fear. That ordinary people could do extraordinary things when they worked together. And they had done it all while being kind to each other and caring for their children, and never forgetting to laugh and dream about tomorrow. On the third day of their visit, alarms began ringing across the human city. Vextar and his team were eating breakfast with Jake when the sound started. What is happening? Quindle asked, her large eyes wide with fear. Jake looked at his communication device. His face became serious, but stayed calm. Solar flare, he said. A big one coming from our sun. It will hit the planet in about 6 hours. Vextar felt cold fear in his stomach. Solar flares were deadly. They could destroy power systems and kill anyone not protected underground. We must evacuate your people to our ship, he said quickly. But Jake was already shaking his head. Thank you, but no. We have procedures for this. We will be fine. You do not understand, Vextar said. A solar flare this size could kill everyone on the planet. Your power grid will fail. Your life support systems will stop working. You need to come with us to safety. Jake stood up and smiled. You do not understand. We have been preparing for this for 300 years. All around them, humans were moving with purpose, but without panic. Children walked calmly with their teachers toward strong buildings. Workers shut down machines and covered equipment. Everyone seemed to know exactly what to do. This is impossible, Quindle said. How can they be so calm? Because this is not their first solar flare, Jake said. We get them every few years. Each time, we learn how to handle them better. At the power plant, Carlos Rivera was directing his team. They were moving quickly, but not running. Vextar watched in amazement as they began shutting down the fusion reactor in a careful sequence. Will you lose all your power? Vextar asked. For a while, Carlos said. But we have backup systems. And we have shields. Shields? Carlos pointed to the hills around the city. Teams of workers were setting up large metal panels. We use mining equipment to make electromagnetic shields. They protect our most important systems from the radiation. A woman named Sam Cooper was leading one of the shield teams. She worked with her hands covered in grease, directing a group of mechanics. They moved heavy equipment like it weighed nothing. How long to get the shields ready? Carlos called to her. 4 hours, Sam called back. Maybe 3 if we skip the safety checks. No skipping safety checks, Carlos said firmly. We have time to do this right. Vextar could not believe what he was seeing. These humans were facing a disaster that would destroy most civilizations. But they worked together like they had practiced this dance 1,000 times at the hospital. Dr. Helen Wright was preparing for radiation injuries. She moved from room to room, checking supplies and talking to her staff. Everyone was busy, but no one looked scared. Do you have enough medicine? Quindle asked her. We always keep extra supplies for emergencies, Helen said. And we know how. To make more from local plants if we need to. How many people will die? Vexstar asked quietly. Helen looked surprised. Die? If we do our jobs right, no one will die. Maybe some people will get sick, but we know how to treat radiation poisoning. But your power will be gone. Your machines will not work. We have hand tools and battery-powered equipment, Helen said. Our great-grandparents survived without modern machines. We can too, if we have to. At the farms, a man named Rick Davis was organizing food distribution. Workers were moving supplies to protected storage areas. Every movement was planned and efficient. We have enough food stored to last 6 months, Rick told the aliens. And we can grow more in the underground farms if the surface gets too dangerous. How do you know how much food to store? Quindle asked. We learned from past flares, Rick said. Each time we figure out what we need and store a little more. After 300 years, we are very good at being ready. As the hours passed, Vexstar watched 50,000 humans prepare for disaster. But it did not look like panic. It looked like a community working together on a difficult but familiar task. Children helped carry supplies. Old people shared their knowledge of past. Flares, strong people did heavy work, while smart people made plans. Everyone had a job, and everyone did their part. This is incredible, Quindle whispered to our captain. They have turned survival into an art. 2 hours before the flare hit, everything was ready. The shields were up and running. The hospital was prepared. Food and water were safely stored. People were in protected buildings with their families. Jake found the aliens in their guest quarters. You should come to our command center, he said. You can watch how we handle the flare from there. The command center was a room deep underground. Screens showed information from all over the planet. A woman named Commander Lisa Grant was coordinating everything. All sectors report ready, she said into her microphone. Shields are at full power. All non-essential systems are shut down. Medical teams are standing by. How long will the flare last? Vexstar asked. About 8 hours, Lisa said. It will be intense for the first 4 hours, then fade slowly. The flare hit exactly when predicted. The screens showed massive radiation striking the planet, but the human shields held. The power grid stayed stable. The life support systems kept working. Temperature rising in Sector 7, someone reported. Increased cooling in Sector 7, Lisa responded calmly. Minor shield failure in the mining area. Send Repair Team 3 to the mining area. For 8 hours, the humans managed the crisis. Every problem was met with a solution. Every danger was handled by people who knew their jobs. When it was over, the city was still standing. The people were safe. The shields had worked perfectly. How? Vexstar asked in wonder. How did you make? It look so easy? Jake smiled tiredly. It was not easy. It was just practiced. We have been getting ready for this day for 300 years. Every generation learns from the last one, Lisa added. Every flare teaches us something new. We get better each time. As the aliens prepared to return to their ship that night, Vexstar realized something important. The humans had not just survived the flare. They had turned it into an opportunity to show how strong they were when they worked together. You could have evacuated with us, he said to Jake. Yes, Jake agreed. But then we would not have learned how well our new shields work. And our children would not have seen that we can handle anything together. What if you had failed? What if people had died? Jake was quiet for a moment. Then we would have mourned them and learned from our mistakes and done better next time. That is what humans do. We never stop trying to protect each other. The morning after the solar flare, Vexstar stood on the observation deck of his ship and looked down at the human city. The sun was shining. People were walking in the streets. Children were playing in the parks. Everything looked normal, and peaceful dot, it was hard to believe that just hours ago, this place had been hit by deadly radiation that should have killed everyone. "Captain," Quindle said, joining him at the window, "I have been thinking about what we saw yesterday. What are your thoughts?" Vexstar asked. "These humans are not like any species we have studied. They do not survive because they are stronger or smarter than others. They survive because they work together in ways we never thought possible." Vexstar nodded. I have been thinking the same thing. When the flare came, they did not panic. They did not fight each other for safety. They helped each other." Down in the city, Jake Morrison was waiting for them with a woman they had not met before. She had gray hair and kind eyes behind small glasses. "This is Maria Santos," Jake said. "She is our chief engineer. She designed most of the systems that saved US yesterday." Maria smiled and shook hands with each alien. "I heard you were surprised by how we handled the flare," she said. "Very surprised," Vexstar admitted. "We expected chaos and death. Instead, we saw cooperation and success." "That is the human way," Maria said. "When things get dangerous, we do not run away from each other. We run toward each other." They walked through the city together. Everywhere they looked, humans were cleaning up from the flare and getting ready for normal life again. But they were doing it together, helping each other, sharing the work. "How do you teach this?" Quindle asked. "How do you make people want to help instead of just saving themselves?" Maria thought for a moment. "We do not teach it like a lesson in school. We live it every day. When your neighbor needs help, you help them. When the community has a problem, everyone works to solve it. When someone succeeds, everyone celebrates." "But what about people who do not want to help? Who only care about themselves?" "They exist," Jake said honestly. "But they are very few. And when they see how much better life is when people work together, most of them change their minds." At the spaceport, they showed the aliens something amazing. Human ships were being built to explore other worlds. Not big military ships, but peaceful vessels designed to carry families and scientists. "We want to find other worlds like this." "One," Maria explained. "Places where humans can build new homes and new communities." "Are you leaving this world?" Vexstar asked. "No," Jake said. "This is our home. But our children want to see the stars. And maybe we can help other species learn what we have learned." "What have you learned?" Quindle asked. Maria smiled. "That cooperation is stronger than competition. That hope is more powerful than fear. That ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they believe in each other, as they prepared to." Leave, Captain Vexstar realized that he needed to ask one more question. "Why?" he said. "Why do you work so hard to take care of each other? It would be easier to just worry about yourselves." Jake and Maria looked at each other. Then Jake spoke. "Because we are not just individuals trying to survive. We are a family. When one person suffers, we all suffer. When one person succeeds, we all succeed. Taking care of each other is not hard work. It is what makes life worth living. Besides," Maria added with a grin, "it is more fun this way. Life is better when you have friends to share it with." Back on his ship, Vexstar called a meeting with his crew. "We came here to study a failed human colony," he said. "Instead, we found something that will change how we understand civilization itself." "What do you mean, Captain?" asked his communication officer. "These humans have proven that a society does not need advanced technology or strong leaders to survive. It needs something much simpler and much more powerful. It needs people who care about each other." Quindle nodded. "They have shown us that cooperation is not just a nice idea. It is a survival tool, maybe the most important survival tool of all." "I want to send a message to the Zephyrian Council," Vexstar said, "and to every other species in the galaxy. We need to tell them what we found here. "What will you tell them?" his officer asked. Vextar looked out at the human world one more time. "I will tell them that we came looking for ruins and found the future instead." The message that went out to the galaxy was simple but powerful. We discovered a human colony that was supposed to have died 300 years ago. Instead, we found 50,000 people who have built a society based on cooperation, hope, and mutual care. They face disasters that would destroy other civilizations, but they survive because they help each other. They have no advanced weapons or superior technology. Their strength comes from their hearts. We request permission to establish an embassy here, not to study their technology, but to learn their ways. These humans may have found the secret to building civilizations that last forever. The response from the galactic community was immediate and overwhelming. Ships from dozens of worlds requested permission to visit New Hope. Scientists wanted to study human social systems. Leaders wanted to learn about human government, but the humans welcomed them all with the same kindness they had shown the Zephyrians. They shared their knowledge freely. They helped other species learn to cooperate better. They proved that their way of life was not just for humans. It could work for anyone willing to try. Years later, when Captain Vextar retired from space exploration, he chose to live on New Hope. He built a small house near the human city and spent his days learning to garden with his human neighbors. "Why do you stay here?" a young Zephyrian officer asked him once. Vextar smiled as he watched human children playing with alien children in the street outside his house. "Because I finally understand what they mean when they say home," he said. "It is not just a place where you live. It is a place where people care about each other, where everyone works together to make life better for everyone else. And that is worth staying for?" "That," Vextar said, "is worth everything." The story of New Hope spread across the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Worlds that had been enemies began to cooperate. Species that had never trusted each other started working together. The humans had given the galaxy something more valuable than any technology or weapon. They had given them hope. And in a universe full of dangers and challenges, hope was the most powerful force of all.